Thanks for joining us today. Today we got Deece Casillas. He got his project Kill Stan. First of all, before we even the what you sent me looks amazing.
All
I
right. Yeah.
I I had to stop real quick because when you sent it, I was in the middle of editing one of the previous episodes, and I had to stop at this, at the scene where he was on the gurney in the hospital. I was like, hold up, I need to dedicate some time into this because I'm liking where this is going already, and that's why I like the third page. So definitely want to touch on that,
You
but
didn't even get into the real good stuff, man.
yeah, and like I'm what 3 pages in on the first issue, and I'm already like, hold up, this is going where I like. Let me finish what I'm doing. But before we get into your projects, man, just want to welcome you to today's episode. And on this show, it's more about the creator. We go over your projects and stuff, but I like to show people, the people behind the magic, man, how we think, how we function, how we how
Yeah.
we operate, and how we do what it is what we do. But on that, just introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll get started on Kill Stan.
Yeah. My name is Deece. I'm a full-time touring comedian. That's what I do for a living. And always loved comic books. Always wanted to do it. And finally, about a year ago, just decided I was going to, written a million things over the years, and I finally had one I wrote in 2020 that kind of for reasons I'm sure we'll get into it, talk about how it came to be. But I decided that was the one I needed to bring forward, and here we are.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, like I was saying, Kill Stan. So t tell me about that. Like let's get into that. Cause you just said you're a comedian. You're a touring comedian, and Kill Stan, that's your first project?
It's first comic book project I've written. I've written in a lot of different mediums. I've published books before. I've written for some TV film stuff,
Hmm.
some websites, as a
Uh-huh.
columnist, for some websites and stuff like that, production things. And, I do a weekly podcast that I've been doing for, God,
Hmm.
14 years now, or no, 12 years now, since 2014. Do all types of things, but, I've written a million comic book scripts, always wanted to
Yeah.
do. And this was,
Hmm.
finally the one that felt I had to do.
All right. Yeah. So how's that transition going from a comedian to now your first project you putting out is the opposite. We going dark, like how is that, Because like I've known comedians that put out comic books. I've done one for Joselito, and we was just, we took what he was doing and just made it into a comic book, funny and funny. So you
Yeah.
went sideways with that.
Opposite
How was that? What was that thought
direction.
process like?
Well, you swim around in a comedian's mind for a while. It's a marshy bog in there.
Yeah.
There's some darkness, and I think most comedians' minds. That's how
Hmm.
we find a way to make crazy shit funny. It's
Hmm.
kind of a coping mechanism. So, but excuse me. I mean, I just always, every time I do projects, whether it's any project I'm doing, even approaching comedy in different ways, I always want
Hmm.
to try different things. I mean, I'm writing another comic book project now that I'm going to do after this one that's a huge departure from this tone. So, I'm always challenging myself to like find a different angle, a different voice, a
Hmm.
different yeah, just for my own entertainment, and also just challenge myself in the capacity of writing.
Yeah. Nice, 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 nice. So kill Stan. Like, yeah, let's get into that. Like, definitely tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 10 issue series. The whole thing's written. We're just slowly chipping away at the art and
Hmm.
printing. Yeah, we're working on the fourth one right now. So 1 through 3 are all available on our website, inferno.earth, or Instagram, inferno.earth. Um, yeah, it was kind of born in 2020. So the premise of the book is a guy wants to end his own life, so he decides to do
Hmm.
it through vigilantism.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a neo-noir crime thriller on the surface, is the way I sell it, but really it's like a character piece about this guy and his journey of loss and trauma and kind of the crazy things we do when we feel like we have nothing left to live for.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now you mentioned 10 issues. Are it after those 10 are done, are you gonna expand on that, or that's it? 10 issues.
That's
Now we're
it.
going elsewhere.
That's
Okay.
it. Moving on. Moving on.
Okay.
I really, so I've got a ton of projects I want to do and I'm working on and I'm gonna publish, but they're all finite. I really want an ending to these things. I don't want these big sprawling epics that are gonna, just move on in perpetuity. I mean, when I write, I
Yeah.
usually, most things I've written in my life, I have the ending before I have the beginning, you know?
Hmm.
Um, or so like I always know what the how it's gonna end, or maybe I'll come up if I come up with like a good, what seems like a really good hook, like an opening page or opening kind of couple sentences or imaging, and then if I can think of how that would end, I'll start filling in the middle. That's kind of my
Hmm.
process. So I don't, everything I write, some of it's longer. The project I'm chipping away at right now is probably more like 50 issues,
Okay.
um,
Wow.
but I've got stuff that's, I got one that's like a 12 issue series I want to do. I've got one that's like a 36 issue series, and I've got them all kind of mapped out, So I
Hmm.
mean, but I really want them to be, um, everything's very intentional, right? Like when I
Hmm.
started writing Kill Stan, it was actually a 12 issue series. And then as I got about halfway through it and was writing it, I'm like, man, am I just trying to hit 12 issues to hit 12 issues? I'm like, I don't want any dead space. I don't want any meandering.
Yeah.
I don't want any panel to feel like it's bloated. I don't want any like anything to feel like it doesn't have to be there, right? So
Hmm.
anything that I felt, I went back through and anything I felt that didn't have to be there, I fucking just started chopping. And I'm like, how do I make it so like it just moves panel to panel to panel to panel? Um, and you'll probably feel this when you read the first one. And I want to keep this tone the whole book, but it's like relentless was the word in my head I was using as like framework for every page. I wanted it to be relentless, where it never stops coming at you and you
Hmm.
never feel like you have a moment to breathe and put the book down.
Yeah.
You because it's so easy to lose people these days in,
Hmm.
the TikTok culture. People's
Yeah.
fucking, people are fucking goldfish, it's so easy to
Yeah.
lose people. So
Mhm.
I just wanted everything to be riveting and sucking you in the whole time. So I found a way to truncate it to 10 issues, and I think it works even better now because it's just, it hits you the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's flowing perfect. And like I said, I'm 3 pages in to the first issue, and right now it's flowing like water. So I can only imagine, especially as we put multiple projects together, we always build on, always do better than what we did last time. So I can only imagine issue two and issue three. Now, when is issue four expected? Like, are you trying, like, do you do one a year, two a year?
We
Like,
did
how
we did
frequently are you popping them out?
we did three last year. Um,
Okay.
so I hope to do at least three this year, if not more.
Hmm.
We kind of, hopefully three or four. Number four, the Kickstarter launches on March 16th, and we'll run it for about a month. And
Okay.
then, so it'll end mid-April, and then we should be able to ship books about the beginning of May.
Okay.
Um, and then we'll just turn around and start working on number five right away. So yeah, hopefully the goal is, um, we had a little late start on number four just because some things I was doing, but
Yeah.
hopefully we can crank out three again this year.
All right. Yeah, definitely. And like, do you already have? I mean, I'm assuming at this point you already got the whole story like locked in already, ready
Oh
to
yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been polished off and written for probably at least a year now.
Nice.
So
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's what's up. Now, my next question, being that you're a stand-up comedian, you're immersed in entertainment on both sides with the comic books and then being a comedian. Like, how does that affect you? Like, I want to touch a little bit on mental health on this episode. I suffer from, I'm bipolar and, trying to, sometimes this could be a battle,
Yeah,
being that
yeah.
this you're doing, you know, you're, like I said, you're on multiple sides of just entertaining. How does, like, do you ever experience any creative burnout? And like, how is that toll
Y-
on you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's creative burnout, because it is burnout. I don't know if it's creative burnout. I guess I'd
Yeah.
say because like creating is all I want to do.
Yeah.
I did it. The thing about um, comic books is it's a lot like comedy in this sense, where
Hmm.
if you love it and want to do it, you're probably going to do it basically for free for a long time
Hmm.
before you get paid for it. Um, so the good news is I love comedy and I would do it for free. I did do it for free for a long time. In comic books, I love comic books. I would do it for free. I do it for free. I mean, I make some money. The comic book's making money, but it's not a ton, and everything I make is
Yeah.
just going back into making the book. I'm
Hmm.
just, everything we make is just going. I'm not taking a paycheck from it or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just paying for the next one, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, we're just reinvesting into everything else. So, conventions, printing, the next book, etc. So yeah, so it's not creative burnout. I do get burnt out just because um I have so much I have to do on top
Yeah.
of just tell jokes and
Hmm.
write comic books. You get into it because you want to do tell jokes, but you end up being I always tell people I have zero jobs, but I also have 87 jobs,
Oh yeah.
because like I don't just tell, stand-up comedy is how I pay my mortgage, but also it's not just jokes. It's writing jokes,
Hmm.
it's practicing the jokes, then it's also sending out emails for booking for me, then it's videotaping, clipping the videos, adding captions, then posting them, becoming a content creator because that's how you have to do it to be
Hmm.
to gain traction. Then I run a production company for comedy too, so I run a bunch of comedy rooms across the country, so I'm always watching videos of comedians, booking them, sending flyers to the venues that we have shows coming up, paying out, doing payroll. So like it's a whole thing.
It's a whole
So,
process. Yeah.
yeah, and then also, I mean, I want to live a life.
Yeah.
I try to go to the gym every day. I try to um I have four dogs. I have a cat. I have fucking 12 chickens. I got a
Hmm.
garden,
Yeah.
and then I want to like live my life. I want to do things to experience life to help build content,
Hmm.
like one of the biggest things as a comedian that I fell into for a while because it's like feast or fa a famine, right? And at a
Yeah.
certain point, you're not making any money, and when you get a chance to make money, you grab anything you can, right? And I got pretty aggressive with it and was able to get on the road early, which helped me a lot, but it meant I was just on the road, on the road, on the road, on the road for months at a time sometimes. And it really helped my career. It helped my, things like that. But I also realized that like I wasn't living any life. And then I
Hmm.
wasn't like able to decompress. I wasn't able to kind of file my thoughts, and I wasn't able to write new material
Yeah.
because I was just living the same life. You have to
Hmm.
go out and do things just to get some experience to kind of decompress and let your mind
Yeah.
file stuff, and then get experiences to draw off of for either comedy or comic books or anything.
Hmm. No, yeah, no, I agreed. Yeah, like sometimes for me, I just need to just step away from everything and just reevaluate and reassess because I sometimes I feel like I just get so immersed in everything, I start to lose focus because
Yeah.
now everything is just a blur. And sometimes, a nice step away, could help a little bit. See the bigger picture a little clearer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
Clean up the lenses a little bit.
some of my favorite things that I do now is if I'm driving to gigs, whether it's a couple hours, sometimes, anything more than like 5, 6 hours, I'm probably flying. But like,
Yeah.
um, I'll drive 5, 6 hours for a weekend, and then, you're staying somewhere for a weekend. But like, I'll drive 5 hours in silence. And I will talk to myself, I'll rant, I'll just think. And like that is some of the times I get to really like let my mind wander and come up with
Hmm.
new ideas and new thoughts. And I don't even like try to focus on anything particularly. I just let my mind go where
Just
it
let
needs
it go.
to go.
Just go where
And
you're gonna go. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes I'll start thinking of something and I'll start talking about it, current events, and then I'll start talking shit about it, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's funny, that's a joke." And then sometimes I start thinking about something, and it'll get me onto an idea for a comic book, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's a comic book series," or like that's a premise for this, or
Mhm.
or that's an idea for a sketch. There's
Yeah.
I don't sit there and go like, "Okay, think about comedy." I just let my mind think, and it wherever it goes,
Yeah, it
where
goes, and sometimes you could find some sort of inspiration for whatever on that journey, wherever your mind is just wherever it's gonna go, wherever it's gonna get lost at. Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. Now, a good question here because, I talk a lot about too how creators, trying to build your base, trying to get fans and engagement and stuff like that. Now, you already had a base because you do the stand-up comedy. Now, once you transition into now I'm starting to also put out comics, were you able to translate your current fan base onto the comics now? Because sometimes
yeah,
they're they could be two different worlds. Like, oh, I love stand-up comedy, but I'm not big into comic books.
right,
Or,
right.
like, did that help you with putting out your first project and things like that? Because people already engaging with your content.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean a little bit. Yeah, it certainly helped. Because there's people that just support you as an artist, like
Yeah.
no matter
Hmm.
what you're doing, they get
They're
behind
invested.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're invested in you. Um, and then I see, some of those people stuck with the book, some of them just, for the first one. And that's fine, like whatever. And then some people, it's just not their thing. And then
Hmm.
there's some people who are like, I've had like middle-aged ladies who have never read a comic book in their life buy my comic book and then be like, "Oh, this is really good. I had no idea this could be a comic book. I had no idea
Hmm.
this was like what a book could be." And
Yeah.
I've got like 6-year-old ladies reading my book because they love it, So it's such a which to me is like the biggest compliment is not even a compliment. I would say accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to take that as my accomplishment. I want to give it to the medium of comic books that like it's so much more than most people think.
Hmm.
There's stories in the medium of comic books for everyone.
Hmm.
So it is nice to see people who've never read a comic book and never would, besides the fact that they knew me and they picked it up just because they wanted to support me. And then they actually read it and they were like,
Yeah.
oh, this is actually fucking good.
Yeah.
I like this. So it's nice to be someone's gateway into a new medium.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like, a lot of people who they're not into comics, never really were into comics. They're familiar with comic book as far as, all the Marvel movies and, everything like on TV and film. That's about as familiar as they are
Right,
with
right,
comic books. I feel like a lot of people just think, oh, they're all superheroes, bad guys versus good guy kind of thing.
right.
But there's so many different stories. You got horror, there's so many different stories, love stories that I feel like, when someone who would never pick up a comic book finally read something like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't expect this. Hold up. Now you just brought somebody over who wouldn't ever read a comic book. Now, like, wait, now there more of
Yeah.
these kind
Yeah.
of stories? Like, hold up. And now, they may not go and, to their comic book stores and fill up on everything, but they're invested in at least certain creators. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is
It's
kind of
opened their
down
eyes.
my alley. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think you nailed it. Comic books is a medium. Superheroes is a genre where
Hmm.
in that medium where it's it's like movies.
Yeah,
Movies have you can do anything in movies. To be fair, comic books is predominantly superheroes. I
yeah.
don't know what percentage I'd put it at, but probably 70%
Hmm.
around is probably superhero or a variation thereof.
Yeah.
So it dominates the field. So I get why
Mhm.
there's that perception from people who have very little knowledge of comic books. But yeah, to let people know, like, man, there's so much out there that it really you can do and not only that, like you can tell stories that are really incredible stories, but use the superhero genre, right?
Yeah.
Like you can tell, so like, like Watchmen or something like that. Like Alan Moore used superheroes as archetypes to tell this story, but the story was not about good guys
Yeah.
punching
No.
bad guys because they broke the law.
Hmm.
That's what I was when I talk to people about Kill Stan. They're like, so it's like a vigilante story. I'm like, kind of, but no,
Yeah.
like him being a vigilante really has nothing to do with this. It's just a vehicle to sell people on the idea who might not pick up a story about a guy who wants to kill himself and is at his lowest. Like that
Mhm.
doesn't sell. But
Yeah.
that's what it's about. It's about him and his mental breakdown, his journey of loss and trauma and the crazy things we do when we feel like we have nothing to live for and how we cope with that. Now, obviously, it's pushed to an extreme when
Oh
he's
yeah.
doing, but like um again, those are vehicles to open this aperture up to more people. But the reality is the story is like a character piece. Like you can strip away the vigilante version part of it and like it's the core of it is still something people resonate with. And that's what I love about comic books or film even or anything. Like you can tell these incredible stories using these fantastical avatars. Because you can read books and be like, oh yeah, it's a guy with a mask and a vigilante and he punches in, cool, like action,
Yeah.
cool. And you're like, yeah, yeah, I mean there is that, but if you want to like push a little deeper,
Hmm.
you can really like this book and so many other books really can offer so much more than that.
Oh yeah, because then I feel at that point now you're invested in the character, and they're from point A to point B, and whatever they're doing now, you're like, okay, I want to see what they got going on because I feel like they're more than just about, fighting the bad guy because they broke the law. It's a deeper side to that character, and that's sometimes that's interesting to explore.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had people, it's interesting because it's polarizing because of the
Yeah.
the topic. It's about a guy who wants to kill himself. There's no
Hmm.
way to slice it. And, I pitch that to people and I soft pitch it a little. I don't say suicide. I don't say it's a guy. I say it's a guy who wants to take his own life. I'm trying to softball it to people because people are
Hmm.
precious about shit. I understand.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I go, so he decides to do it through vigilantism. That's the
Mhm.
one liner. And then I've got another couple sentences I'll give if it seems like their ears perk up at all. But I've had a lot of people go, oh, that's really dark. And I go, if you think that's dark, you're missing the point.
Hmm.
You're not, it's not dark. Life is dark, life is hard, life is complicated, life is ugly. If you can't admit that, then you're living in another reality that doesn't exist. So
Absolutely.
like I don't want to write things that are like bubbly, happy ending. Like I want to pull you through the shit, make you feel some things, make you fucking feel for him, make you feel for yourself, be like, holy shit, I've been there, you know, like I've never had a fucking a mask and a fucking machete and right, but I've been why he feels that way. Like I get
Yeah.
that. And I've
You've been
get
through the
like
pain. Yeah.
you're right, and like I mean I was asked a while back about the whole thing about someone, what I think, what people, how many people really think about. you know, self-harm and taking their own life. And I go, and honestly, I think everyone does. I think
Yeah.
everyone has at some point in some capacity. Now, some people just have a really bad day and they're like, fuck, and like, the thought may come and it's gone. Other
Yeah.
people fucking
Dwell on it. They
go
sit
dwell
there
on it.
and
Other people
they're
go
like,
all
damn.
the, some people take it all the way home. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a reality. Like, I don't think that's a hard thing. I don't think that's a thing to shy away from. That's a thing to talk about. It's a hard
Mhm.
topic.
And it should be spoken about, you know what I'm saying? Because it's the reality. Like you
Yeah.
said, like at some point, everyone that thought has crossed their mind, whether it's for a quick second because they're just having a shitty day or they're going through something and
Yeah.
the thought of it sounds like a plausible solution at that moment. And then, like you said, there's some people that take it all the way home and do it, and it sucks, but it's the world we live in, you know,
Yeah.
and we can't really. It should be spoken about more. It's nothing to really to hide behind. It's serious. It's sometimes it get really dark, you know, and it's just bad for you.
Yeah. I mean that's the reason I wrote this book is that so my in I wrote this book in like I started writing it I think May of 2020, April of
Hmm.
2020. I'd have to go back and look. It was April or May of 2020 is when I started writing it. But the what happened is January of 2020, my best friend, another comedian, actually took his own life.
Sorry
And
to hear that.
thanks. It was I'd known him forever. He's best friend for a long time, and he'd been through some shit, and he'd
Yeah.
had some attempts before, and
Hmm.
it's one of those things where it's not a matter of if, it seems like a matter of when. You hope
Hmm.
you can kick the can down the road as far as possible, and then sometimes you think, oh, maybe we're past this, and then sometimes like shit, maybe we're not. Um, but anyway, that happened in January of 2020. Um, it was pretty, where I lived at the time in Washington State, it was like this kind of, we had this comedy community that him and I were a big part of. And, I was kind of one of the figureheads of that community. And then when he passed, everyone really kind of looked to me to kind of like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Kind of like for solace to kind of figure it out. And part of it is I've been through this before a lot in my life, and I've seen a lot of people die. I grew up in South Central LA in the 80s, man. I mean, I watched my best friend shot in front of me when I was 10 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Hmm.
mean, I've seen more people get killed than I'd like to admit. Um, so like for better or worse, I guess I'm like more equipped to deal with it.
Yeah. Because we're so used to it,
In which,
having that as something we experience growing up as a kid. It stays with us till
yeah.
sadly it's kind of like a norm, you know?
Right. Yeah, it shouldn't be, and it makes you feel numb, and it makes you
Yeah.
feel like, man, I wish I wish I felt more about. Not that I didn't feel that I felt a lot. I felt a lot about it, but also you learn how to not let yourself feel about it. Like
Yeah.
because you have to hold it together for everyone
Hmm.
else and like kind
Hmm.
of be able to keep moving on.
Keep
Um,
face, yeah.
And so, anyway, I was like, I really never got to process this thing fully. And then, as soon as it was kind of like winding down, um, well, COVID hit.
Hmm.
I mean, March of 2020, COVID
Yeah.
hit. Then we're locked down. Now I can't see anyone. Everyone is isolated. I've got all this time to myself, and I'm like really unable to figure out how to process everything that's happening. With like, 'cause I'm still on my friend dying, not
Yeah.
in COVID. And then, I'm watching everyone in COVID. People's lives are crumbling, whether physically, financially, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
People are just breaking in ways that we've never experienced or seen before in our lifetime, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and I started thinking about this and I'm really like, what, if you really wanted to take your own, if you really didn't give a shit, you had nothing else to live for, nothing, it did not fucking matter. Like how crazy could it get? And I kind of let this ruminate and I started thinking about this. Um, and then I had, uh, I was looking at something and I saw the phrase suicide by cop, right? And I'm like,
Hmm.
and then I'm like, oh, what about suicide by vigilantism? I'm like, that's interesting. And I'm like, oh, wait. And then I took that idea, married it up with everything else I've been thinking about, and I just started writing.
Yeah.
And this is what came out. It's like it was like this catharsis uh of those events, and I've had a lot of people who have experienced trauma or felt like harming themselves
Hmm.
or really, had some instability mentally where they've come back after they've read it and they'd be like, wow, thank you. Like this is really like I really feel seen
Hmm.
with this book. I really feel like I understand what Stan is going through. And that means a lot to me, that really that people can because that's what I wanted. I wanted this to be a thing where people could be like, I get that. I've been there,
Yeah, I've been in that I've been in that space, that
Y-
headspace, you know?
Yeah. So that was like it's nice that it's resonating for people and it's
Yeah.
people feeling it.
Hmm. Yeah, because it brings, like you said, it's not something a lot of people talk about. So those that, that go through it, that sit in that headspace sometimes, they're like, oh, I'm not the only one. Like clearly, there's others, there's more people like me going through it. And it may not be to the point where, I want to go through with it, but the fact that I'm there, sometimes
Right.
it's scary enough
Yeah.
being just there, is could be a little too much. And I think that's and the crazy part about me, I think being there, because I've been there so many times, is what pulls me back is creating. Because then, I don't want to be, I don't want to be the person that does it. So I feel like I need to channel that energy, or I want to put a gun to my head or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and how can I make this positive? Clearly, there's something wrong. So let me focus on something else. And I
Yeah.
feel like creating, putting that into whether it's because I do music, whether it's a song or a book or a comic book or anything, just releasing that energy. But
Well, that's the thing about this is I've said this a lot while working on this project. Um that it doesn't even have to be, wanting to take your own life. Like, right, like I always say the worst thing that's ever happened to you is still the worst thing that's ever happened to you, right?
mhm,
And what I mean by that is you can take 10 people and ask them the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And objectively, from the outside, you could take those 10 things and you could probably put them in order as far as
yeah,
worst to least worst, right?
yeah,
But to those 10 individuals,
that's the worst thing that's happened to them.
it's the same level, right? Because
Yeah,
it's the worst that's ever happened. They haven't experienced worse. So like it is still the worst thing they've ever experienced. So to them, it feels the same. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
So like that was kind of part of it too. Is like I wanted to let people know like this doesn't have to, this isn't really, you know, it doesn't have to be a specific thing
hmm
that makes you feel this way or feel bad, or it doesn't have to be like, it can be so many things. It can be
yeah,
anything, you know. Um, so yeah, I just wanted it to be really open so people can kind of feel it no matter where they're at.
yeah. No, like that. As soon as I started scrolling through the PDF and I got to that panel where, he had the gun to his head, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. That's why I was like, I'm interested in reading this. Like, let me finish what I'm doing so I could throw this on my iPad and just sit there, smoke a blunt, 'cause that's what I do.
Yeah.
And, that's I roll my blunt, and that's when I get into like, I love to read that way. Yeah, I feel like I absorb the story more, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do today, you know.
Yeah.
But do you sell your books at your shows? Like, I mean, I've been to a few comedy shows and I know, they, a lot of them do a meet and greet and have some merch that they sell. Like, do you do that as well? Like, do you sell
Yeah,
your books at your shows? And has
yeah,
that been
yeah.
successful for you?
I mean that's subjective. Successful enough that I keep doing it. I mean,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
selling it gangbusters. Like I sell shirts after shows.
Yeah.
I I've sold shirts after shows for a decade, and that's pretty reliable. Everyone wears a shirt if they like,
Yeah.
whether they can, if they'll buy a shirt from you because they like
Hmm.
you, you know. The comic book is a little more laser specific. Um,
Yeah.
but I've certainly had people, when you're doing clubs and you're doing a week, 4 shows in a weekend and you're doing, I don't know, 250 people a show, you're talking 1,000 people in a weekend, you'll get like, uh, I, uh, I mean, if I get 5 people a show that buy comic books, that's probably a good one. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's like those are people who buy the book, read the book. They usually buy all 3 copies, buy multiple covers or something. And also they follow me on Instagram and then maybe they're going to buy the next one.
Yeah.
So like
Hmm.
it's worth it to at least try. But I mean, I always sell at least a couple copies. And to me, it's like,
Nice.
it doesn't take much. I can, it's not like it takes much to pack them. And then,
Yeah.
I'll sell them. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a little more niche, than
Yeah.
selling shirts, but
I also
you know,
feel that's different. 'Cause, like, you see a lot of merch tables, like you said, they got t-shirts, maybe some stickers or whatever. But when you see a comic book, I feel like, oh wow, I feel like that'll bring a little more intrigue because it's so different. Like,
yeah,
wait a minute, he does comic books too. Okay, this is, let me see what this is about. I would. I mean, but then again, I love comic books too,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you
It's,
know.
I mean, I've had people buy the book that probably aren't comic book readers, but it's mostly
Hmm.
people who it seems like they're
Yeah.
at least tangentially involved or interested in
Hmm.
books, which again is great. It's like it's kind of to be expected. Again, a shirt is ubiquitous. Everyone wears a shirt every day.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's easy to sell, after a show, you can sell fucking, 25 shirts pretty easily or more. That's pretty simple, but it's just math. But like the comic book is a little more
Hmm.
specific,
Now,
anything else.
have you ever done conventions? Like, you ever done cons?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did 2 this weekend. I did one Friday and one Saturday
Nice.
today. I did. I think I did 36 conventions in 2025.
Wow.
Uh,
Working.
yeah, yeah, man. It's like that burnout is real. Um, so
Because that's a lot of conventions on top of touring, doing your regular shows, and then having to do that's a lot.
yeah.
That's a lot of dealing with a lot of different people.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, we got 52 weeks in a year, so that's you figure what I had 11 week or no wait 2019 week or wait, am I doing math right? 14 16 weekends off, and so most of those weekends I was probably doing comedy, so I probably had like 3 weekends off last year, which is fucking nuts. But so a lot of what I do, so my plan was I really wanted the first year to, get the 3 issues out at least, which we did. I wanted to do as many conventions as I could do, and I really wanted to just get as many books out as I could. That was the
Mhm,
goal. Just get out and hit the ground running. This year I'm pulling it back a little because I have a fan base.
mhm.
I have retailers that carry me. I have repeat customers that come back for new books. So it's kind of carrying itself a little more. But um, I was able to, and we're doing that this year too. What I did is I would find conventions that I wanted to go do, and then I would just book comedy shows in that town in the same.
Around that. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
So
That makes
yeah,
a lot of sense.
I'd go in, I'd book shows like usually like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I do shows, and then the
Hmm.
convention is like Saturday, Sunday. So, Saturday's a long day. But what are you gonna do? That's part of the
Yeah.
gig. But I mean, So I'd come in town Friday, do a show Thursday, set up the convention Friday, do a show Friday, Saturday convention show, Sunday just the convention, then
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday morning I'd go home. Um, and that was really good because then I'm really doubling down on income also, making,
Oh
not
yeah.
just doing one thing in a place in a weekend. So
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, hell yeah. And now being a stand-up comic, do you kind of bring that same energy to being behind a table at a con? And because you go to a con, a lot of the creators, a lot of them, they're quiet, working on
yeah.
some stuff. Like, do you bring that? Because you bring that same energy to
A
the
a
table
little
at the con,
bit.
or you tone it down a bit?
I mean, you kind of have to be a carnival barker if you want to move units.
Yeah,
I see a lot of people at these conventions and they sit behind the table and they're just like meek and don't say a word. And then at the end of the weekend, they didn't sell anything. It's like, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
like, you're just banking on people coming up to you and throwing money at your face. Like you kind of gotta talk to people like, hey, what's up, guys? I like your shirt, or what's that you got there? What'd you buy? Someone has a stack of comic books they found somewhere holding it back. He's like, oh, what'd you
mhm,
find? And part of it is to get him over the booth, but part of it is like, I fucking love
yeah,
old comic books. Like, let's just talk about what you bought
yeah.
also.
Hmm.
And usually we'll talk about it for a while, and then they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, well, this is my book. And so it's a little bit of just kind of being part of the atmosphere and talking
Hmm.
to people and yeah, being gregarious. And so yeah,
Yeah,
it helps because I don't have, a lot of creators, and probably the stereotype for people who read comic books is kind of like a nerdy guy, or kind of like a shy. You're not real outgoing.
yeah.
So
That's definitely the stereotype people have,
yeah,
especially when they go to cons.
right. I mean, I'm not that. Like I'm fucking I'm I'm loud, I'm brash, I'll fucking say crazy shit, I'll fucking talk to anyone, I'll do anything. I don't give a
Uh-huh.
fuck.
Yeah.
So like I'm just there having fun, because I like the
Hmm.
environment. So it like kind of charges me up anyway. So I'm just kicking and having fun, and like that energy, I think it's just
Yeah.
that energy is what gets
Mhm.
people over to the booth.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'm so used to being on stage where, now that I'm just doing conventions, I still have that energy. I'm a character, like I'm
Yeah.
on 24 hours a day. Like I try to sit there behind the table. I can't. I need to be out
Yeah.
and about. Hey, look what I got. Come check this out. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to see something dope? Come to my table. Like a table. Oh, you make comic books? I do a lot of things, but today I'm doing comic books.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I was at a booth, I didn't have any, I was becoming a creator. I was when a story was still being worked on. I was at a booth with Indiana. I think it was IndieCon with Comics Elite. Um and Sean, he's my homeboy, that's my brother. And he was like, "Yo, come up to the con and we'll hang out and da da da." And then I got to sit back there and and I'm being the Comics Elite cheerleader for the day. Yo, look what we got! Look, and he had my homeboy Ryan Kincaid with him. Doing
Oh
he
yeah.
had some variants with him. I
Wow.
love that dude. I love him. And then he was like, "Yo, Mal, you got a lot of energy, don't you?" I'm like, yeah, because he's sitting there doing some sketch covers, and I'm just like, yo, check out my boy. Like, yeah. I'm just all over the place, and he's like, you gotta tone it down a bit. I'm like, I can't. I'm just, this is me, 24 hours a day, man. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta see me at home alone. I'm like, hey, with the amount of weed I smoke, I should be a little more calm and relaxed.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, no,
Yeah, you
they're
got to get
like,
on that indica, man.
yeah, no, I need to. I can't be slouched.
Yeah.
I need to be on
Yeah.
the go, and Coke is not my thing. So, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like you said, if you want to sell your product to people who don't know you,
Yeah.
you kind of you gotta grab their attention one way. You can't really sit there if you're unknown and expect people to come to you. It doesn't work, especially when you're at a big convention, when you're being overshadowed by all the major brands that are upstairs, and
Yeah.
even if they do come to you, they probably already spent their money on photo ops and SIG opportunities and grading and this and that. You know, by the time they come to Artist Alley, they got like $50 left. And, you know, and why should I spend even 10 of this on you? You know, you kind of got to give them a reason, you know?
Oh
So,
yeah. Yeah,
you
man.
know,
It's
I
part of the
always try
gig.
to stay on. Yeah, you gotta, you gotta, for lack of a better word, you gotta sell yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta sell yourself because, like you said earlier, people invest in you. They buy your books, because they're invested in you and the creator and the artist, because they love your comedy. Oh man, if he's funny as hell. Oh, he's making comic books. Oh man, this is completely different, but yo, it's just as dope. So
Yeah.
next thing he puts out, whether it's a Netflix special or a new series you're putting out, they be like, well, everything I've seen so far has been home run. Now everything he puts out, I'm just with it because what I'm just a fan, I'm a fan of his, not the comedy or the comic. I'm a fan of his, and I think that's what it's all about, because when they like you, they like everything you put out. You could put out crap and they're gonna like it.
Yeah. They'll at least support it.
You know. Now transitioning over to comics and looking for artists and helping, finding a team that is gonna bring your vision to life. How was that experience?
Um, not bad actually. For me, I can imagine.
That's why I'm like, okay, if it didn't go as bad, I'm interested in your story because
Yeah,
you got a lot of horror stories on this side.
I can imagine it can be a nightmare, right? Like,
Oh,
I mean, I'm in enough Facebook comic book indie comic creator groups. I've met enough creators. I know, like, I get it. I can see how it could be a nightmare. But here's a couple things that I was really, um, I'm I'm very discerning, and I knew what I wanted.
mm-hmm,
Very specifically, I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted the book to look. I knew the style I wanted it to be in. I knew, I wanted a neo-noir feel. I knew the way I wanted it to be colored.
mm-hmm,
Uh, I mean, everything. Like this is not me comparing myself to Alan Moore as a writer, but when people ask my writing style, I'm like, it is more like that. Like I am so specific with
mm-hmm,
scenes. I mean, I do thumbnails even in rough breakdowns for my artists to give an idea of like how the pages should be laid out. I'm very specific because I have a way I want to look. So, I just put out very simply, and also I produce comedy shows. I produced a lot of things. I've managed people. Like
mm-hmm,
I was very specific when I asked. I'm like, I'm doing a comic book. It's a neo-noir feel, darker, grittier, urban comic book.
mm-hmm.
Um, like think about that when you said if you're going to reply, because like if you send me some fucking shiny manga thing, like you're just wasting our time,
Yeah,
basically.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm like I'm not saying that's you're bad at what you do. That just
It's just
doesn't
not what you're looking for. Yeah.
project, like,
Hmm.
so I'm like, don't waste your time, don't waste mine. I was very specific. And I'm like, I go, here's the email, send me your portfolio, send me your page rates, send me your contact information. I started getting replies, and I fished through them. It was pretty quick, I could look at a couple pages, maybe even a page or a panel and be like, no, no, yeah,
Yeah.
and I narrowed it down to three people. Um, for the artist, and I scheduled Zoom calls with all of them. And I got on a call and I just said, like, hey, I talked about the project. I talked about my expectations for the project. I talked about what I expected from them. I asked them what they would expect from me, besides paying them and on time and stuff, but like, just to make sure we were all on the same page. And I did the same thing with my colorist. He does the letters also. But and then I wrote up little contracts, just
Yeah.
pretty basic contracts, sent them over, and off we went. And it's been great. My artist fucking kills it. The guy, um, you know. he's very good at bringing my vision to life. Again, I'm very specific, and sometimes he's like, "Hey, man, what do you think of this?" And
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, "Oh, that's great," and then sometimes I'm like, "Actually, no, I want
Yeah.
to do this for just because and
Hmm.
for reasons." And then the way it's colored, I wanted it to be a very specific coloring. I'm sure you'll notice as you start reading the book, the coloring we use and the way we use things. But um, the it took a little bit going back and forth with the colorist and being like, no, let's try that again, do this, a little more saturation here, a little more this, a little more texture. But then once we got through the first issue, now it's just he just fucking
Yeah, because
it's
you
like
already
no, it's
got
like no
the
notes.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it really wasn't. I've made. I guess I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate, but also I was very diligent and specific about what I
Mhm.
wanted and what I was gonna. And I know what I want. So when I started
Yeah.
looking, I'm like easy, easy, no, easy, no, easy, no.
Yeah.
Like it's very quick.
Mm. Yeah, that's what's up. Especially, the fact that you knew what you wanted and like, this is how it's got to be.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure like that helped with your experience and weeding through, cause through the madness. I mean, I think speaking for myself as well, definitely been scammed. You know what I'm saying? Like it's tough out there, but it's not always bad.
yeah,
And not everyone has a bad story starting starting out you know, in this field, putting together this kind of project. But yeah, no, it's good to finally hear a positive story.
Well, I mean, I've done enough business in my life
Yeah.
that
So you already
I
had the
think,
experience in producing a project, putting
yeah,
it
yeah.
together, how you want it, the way it needs to be, like this is it. And I'm open to listening to what your ideas, but this is pretty much how it's
Yeah,
gonna
at
go.
the
So
end of the
that
day, I'm
the
paying.
fact that you had that experience was pretty helpful
Yeah,
too.
yeah. You just I know people, and I could that's why I had wanted to hop on and have Zoom calls with people and like really talk about it for a minute, and get a vibe for the person. I'll tell anyone out there if you're thinking about doing this, I'll give you some tips. Um, if you're like when you're looking for, I mean anything, say we'll say artist just because that's the most common you're looking for,
Yeah.
but the way I structured it is he'll send me there's no payment up front. He'll send me breakdowns, like rough breakdowns, if or I'll send him ones and then he'll kind of do his and I'll approve them. Then he will do the pencils. I'll approve the pencils. Then he'll do the inks and I will approve the inks. And
Hmm.
then the once the pages are done, I will pay him
Hmm.
uh, for only through PayPal friend or PayPal goods and services because that's
Always, yeah,
100%
protect
refundable.
yourself with that. Hmm.
Yeah, you will
Yeah,
protect
even if they want friends and family, like nope. I've even I'll even put in an extra $2 so you don't gotta
the
eat the fee.
fees.
But
Yeah,
goods and
yeah.
services protects you because if you get scammed, you're out of
They'll
luck.
yeah. Well, and then so once I pay him, he'll send me the TIFF files.
Yeah,
So like until before that I just have like basically low res.
yeah,
I mean you could print them, but it
you could tell.
be the
Yeah.
same. I mean they'd be fine, but it wouldn't be as good as it could be. So like,
Mm.
but I would do that anyway. But the point is, like, I'm never paying for anything. I'm not, it's like a real good artist would understand, like, the shitty thing is that a writer can scam an artist too by asking them to do something and then not paying them.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
But the way we structured it is that I every 5 pages I pay him. So it's not like he's doing a whole book and then I never pay him. Yeah, I never get the book, but also he did all this work. It's every 5 pages
yeah,
completely. I pay him. So he's got money flowing in and it's consistent. I mean, now we're a little looser with it on our fourth
yeah.
book.
Because
Be-
you already got that working reports already
Yeah,
going on issue 4. You already know how he knows you're good for it. You knows he's good for
right.
it. So,
Yeah.
a lot of that goes out the window now.
I mean, but yeah, when you're first starting out, you really, yeah, you gotta make sure. um, everyone's on board and committed. It's tough. I get it because like the
Yeah.
finances are nebulous at best, you know. I mean, I the way I did it is I paid for the first book completely out of pocket. Then I ran a Kickstarter for it. Um, but basically I just used that money to print the book for the people who bought it, and then I rolled all the money into making number two.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I've just kind of kept it going that way. So,
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, it seems to work because, like I said, issue one looks dope already. And for the other two issues, you can get them directly from your web store, right?
yep, we got a website, inferno.earth. There's a shop on there. We've got a couple different covers for each book. You can throw them in the cart or check out
Mhm.
uh, right through the website. We'll ship them out to you.
Now, how now your website selling on your website? Do you find that helpful too, or Kickstarter is just like the way to go?
Well, no, actually, I prefer people buy on the website.
Yeah.
The uh, actually, what I've been trying to do is every Kickstarter, I've been lowering the dollar amount we're trying to gather. I mean, obviously, blowing through the dollar amount is always great, but what I've been doing is advertising is like, hey, go to the Kickstarter, or you can just pre-order on our website.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get, because I mean, why would I let Kickstarter take
Take
13% of
that.
my
Yeah.
when
Hmm.
I can just get that person to go straight to me? And then also that person doesn't have to create a Kickstarter account if they don't have one and yada yada. So they can just go to my website and buy directly from me and pre-order it. That's what I've been encouraging people to do.
Hmm.
Uh, that so slowly I'm trying to transition everyone into doing that. So
Yeah.
I, just so everything runs right through my website. We'll always do a Kickstarter just because we get organic traffic. You
Yeah.
know, people on we get orders on Kickstarter every time from people I don't know, new people that would never find us any other way. So like, we'll do a Kickstarter. Probably, I think we're doing like 2,000 this one. For the next one, I'll probably do like 1,500, and I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna keep lowering it. Probably like 1,200 will be like the bottom, maybe
Yeah.
15. I'll stop at that. But like, so people can at least find it who normally wouldn't. But otherwise, it's just encouraging people to buy directly from us.
Yeah, that works. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. But Deece, on that note, I want to thank you for giving us, giving this platform some time.
Yeah.
Kill Stand. If you guys haven't checked it out, there's gonna be links below. Check that out now because it's dope. And then, when issue four comes out, we'll probably have you back on and we could talk about the Kickstarter and what we got next after that.
Yeah, man. Guys, if you follow the Kickstarter for number four, we're trying to get as many followers on the pre-launch page before it launches. We're all at the mercy of the algorithm gods these days. So the more followers on the pre-launch page, the higher it goes in the algorithm when it launches, the faster we fund, which looks better. So all those things help a ton. So even if you don't want to buy the book, like just go follow go to Kickstarter, find Kill Stand 4, hit notify me of launch, and that's all you have to do. That helps a ton. But we are going to have some cool books, some really cool exclusives on the Kickstarter. We always do. You get first access to the book. You can or you can order number one through three on the website now, or you can go through and do it on the Kickstarter when it launches. Um, and yeah, follow us on inferno.earth is the Instagram. You can find me at deece.comedy on Instagram, my website, Deece Comedy. And then I got a web or podcast, The Social Hour, new episodes every Wednesday.
There you go, folks. You heard it there. On that note, once again, thank you for your time today, and we'll catch you again.
Thanks, guys.
I have a good one.